Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of our new series, Modern Science Demystified with Dr. Michael Murray. This series is sponsored by our friends at Mitsubishi International Food Ingredients. You can connect with them right here in our platform. Now, Dr. Murray and I are both on the road. I'm at NBJ Summit, and I actually see some names here of attendees of this session who are at the NBJ Summit. So I hope to connect with you all here. And Dr. Murray, thank you so much for joining us from the road as well. Welcome.
It's my pleasure.
Now, our first episode today is a top ingredient for a smart brain, the science behind PharmaGABA. The $1 billion brain health supplements industry is rapidly growing as memory, focus, and overall cognitive health are top of mind for today's consumers. Before we dig into the science behind PharmaGABA, Dr. Murray, I just want to hear from you. What are you seeing in this space? What are consumers wanting now? And what are some of the innovations that are meeting those needs?
It's a huge category, and there are so many natural products that produce positive effects. And it's full of just a lot of science supporting the use of these natural products, from simple things like B vitamins and omega-3 fatty acids to various mushroom extracts, various flavonoid extracts, a wide range of botanicals. This is a great category for the natural product industry.
I absolutely agree. And as a consumer of these products, as well as someone who is covering the space, by the way, I'm Jessica Rubino. I'm the Executive Director of Content. I did not introduce myself. I assume I know all of you, but I may not. I see so much going on, and that's why I'm very excited about this particular ingredient. As you mentioned, really looking at having the science-backed support behind them. So I'm excited to dig in. And before we do, I also want to remind everyone that we'll have about 10 minutes at the end to ask Dr. Murray questions, as well as to be, sending requests to the Mitsubishi team. Again, all right here in the platform. So Dr. Murray, let's talk about PharmaGABA. What is it? Why don't we just start there?
Well, great. PharmaGABA is an exciting natural product. I'm very familiar with it. I helped launch it in the US. I think it was around 2005 or 2006. And it represents a natural source of the brain chemical gamma aminobutyric acid. This is a key neurotransmitter in the human brain, and it's integrally involved in our feelings, and especially as it relates to feelings of relaxation, but with greater mental focus and clarity. PharmaGABA is naturally produced and clinically proven. It's a big product in Japan. They use it in a lot of consumer goods and food products. It's used to promote feelings of relaxation with greater focus, concentration, and cognitive function. It's one of the most successful natural food ingredients of all time. In Japan, it achieved FOSU status, and it's very safe and very effective and has excellent scientific documentation. One of the questions I typically get, Jessica, is what's the difference between PharmaGABA and synthetic GABA? And the GABA market is full of synthetic forms. PharmaGABA is naturally produced, and this natural production involves utilizing a bacteria, Lactobacillus hilgardae, which is the key bacteria in the production of kimchi. Many of you probably have had kimchi. It's a Korean fermented vegetable dish. It naturally produces a lot of PharmaGABA, and the pharma foods team developed a very extensive process in concentrating that GABA into a 80% powder. Here are some examples of the products that are available in Japan that utilize this ingredient. And as I said, it has achieved FOSU status in Japan. Very, very popular. They put it in all sorts of beverages and chocolates. And one of the latest product introductions is a green tea product produced by Coca-Cola Japan, with the functional claims of lowering blood pressure and improving memory. And we'll talk about how PharmaGABA does that. What I want to quickly touch on is that the synthetic form doesn't appear to produce the same sort of benefits. And one of the studies that demonstrated this involved having students take a math test, and they were given either the natural form or the synthetic form before taking this test. And they looked at various measures of stress. They looked at cortisol levels. They did a visual analog scale. They also looked at a substance called chromogranin A, which is secreted in the saliva. It is an adrenal hormone that's a marker of stress. And as you can see in this slide here, the synthetic GABA had no real effect on reducing chromogranin A, while the PharmaGABA reduced it tremendously. And other studies have shown other markers of stress being reduced by the PharmaGABA, and we just don't see that with the synthetic GABA.
Very interesting, Dr. Murray. I was curious about that, kind of understanding the nuances of how synthetic versus natural works. And I'd love to just dig in. I have other questions, but I'll save them about all those great delivery systems that you showed. But to dig into a little bit more how the ingredient actually works in the body and the types of brain health benefits that people see from taking this as a supplement.
It's really an interesting compound, and when it first hit the market, I felt there may be some advantages of the natural form being able to cross the blood-brain barrier versus the synthetic form. But it was soon discovered that that's really not how it gets into the body and producing its effects. Its effects are primarily through a feedback mechanism via the vagus nerve, and it signals the parasympathetic nervous system to become activated. And this can be demonstrated by just looking at the diameter of the pupil, measuring blood pressure or pulse rate. And within 5 minutes, PharmaGABA has been shown to increase the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system to produce this feeling of relaxation, but with greater focus and clarity. So that's the mechanism of action. PharmaGABA activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and we see that in a variety of different measures. And we've all heard of the relaxation response. We all know that meditation, breathing exercises, and other forms of relaxation produce this response. And we can do that through the use of PharmaGABA. I think it's a really interesting mechanism of action, and the results are just fantastic.
It's interesting as you're outlining the benefits. I'm like, that is what every human being in this world needs right now.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable. I do want to talk a little bit about the science. We kicked off this conversation talking about the importance of validation and research. So let's dig into that a little bit.
Well, one of the big markers of stress is cortisol. Cortisol is one of the few hormones that actually increases as we age, and it's responsible for a lot of negative effects, bone loss, muscle loss, and atrophy of the brain. We know that PharmaGABA reduces the levels of cortisol produced by a stressful event, and this is very important in an acute situation, but over the long haul, it has tremendous benefits in promoting an improvement in health, particularly in cognitive function. One of the other ways that PharmaGABA may improve cognitive function is its ability to improve sleep quality. And sleep quality is really defined by the time spent in the deeper levels of sleep. That's where our brain really gets refreshed, our whole body gets rejuvenated. A lot of beneficial effects occur at the deepest levels of sleep. And that's what PharmaGABA does. It promotes the deeper level of sleep. It shortens the time required to go to sleep. It leads to greater time spent in those deeper levels of sleep. And people wake up feeling alive, feeling more refreshed and ready to tackle their day. So it really, really has some underlying mechanisms that are responsible for what we'll get into very soon, the cognitive enhancing effects.
I'm glad I know that now. I have my little Fitbit here and I never quite know how to measure the success of my sleep. Now, it sounds like a lot of science has been applied to that piece of it, the sleep benefits. And then you mentioned, we'll touch on some of the other aspects. So where is most of the science focused right now on PharmaGABA?
This product has been around for almost 20 years, so it's accumulated a lot of science, and it really is a parasympathetic activator in a pill form, and there's so much benefit that can be produced from that mechanism of action. What I want to focus on right now are two studies that have just came out that really show that PharmaGABA can improve brain health. And it does so by those mechanisms that I mentioned earlier. We know that circulating cortisol levels are negative towards long-term brain health. And so if we can lower cortisol levels, we can potentially prevent the cognitive decline associated with aging. We also know that sleep dysfunction leads to cognitive decline. Defects in sleep mean the brain isn't going to clear beta amyloid. You're going to get tau accumulation. And these two compounds are big factors in Alzheimer's disease. So with poor sleep, we see an increased risk for Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, as well as just mild cognitive impairment as well. So lots of benefits to our brain health if we get a good night's sleep. So we know that the PharmaGABA is able to lower the cortisol levels and improve sleep function. So that's probably the reasons why we're seeing these positive results in clinical studies. So the studies that have been done on cognitive improvement by PharmaGABA, these were done in Japan, in Japanese people over 40 years of age, and they looked at some test results using established measures of both mental function, logical thinking, and memory. And what they showed was significant benefits. There were two tests. The one test used 200 milligrams per day, and the other test used 100 milligrams. The 200 milligrams produced slightly better results. And I think that's a good dosage range for the widest net that we can cast out there in producing benefit for the largest number of people. The results showed that we see some things that are typical with nootropics or cognitive enhancing compounds, with improving memory and attention and constructive thinking and improving memory. What was different about PharmaGABA is that it was the first ingredient to actually improve logical thinking. And this is the ability to reason and understand visual or abstract information. And so this is interesting. There was a study that was done in elementary students and having them take a math test, either with the aid of PharmaGABA or without. And the PharmaGABA made these elementary students smarter. And we understand why now. It has some really unique effects on improving logical thinking. This result has achieved a lot of attention. Nutrient Ingredients USA published this report on these studies last year. And yet we still haven't seen this really be promoted out in the marketplace. And this is an agent that really can help a lot of people, both in the short term and helping them deal with maybe a stressful situation like maybe a Zoom call or getting on an airplane or just going to the grocery store these days, or long-term effects in really producing benefits on cortisol and sleep improvement that have just profound long-term effects. So these are where you can find these studies, and I encourage people to reach out to the Mitsubishi team. This group is fantastic in follow-up and in helping you have the tools that you need to be successful.
Thanks so much, Dr. Murray. Great to see that science. Gosh, who knows where I'd be today if I had been taking PharmaGABA in second grade, right? But there is still hope. It looks like, I'm curious about that, the studies on the kids as well as adults. Do you see this supplement as being promising kind of for all ages and demographics?
Absolutely, and we know that it's safe, and that's the key thing. We know that this is a very safe compound. Yeah, it is the number one amino acid in its category, but it still has not reached the level of success that it has in Japan, and I think there's a reason for that. The Japanese market was really primed. In Japan, there was a phenomenon known as Gaba Rice, and these electronic rice cookers actually had a setting labeled Gaba Rice. What they found was if they soaked the rice in water overnight or during the day, and then the cooker would come on and cook that rice, that people were feeling more relaxed. They felt different. They felt smarter. They felt more relaxed, more easygoing. And this became a cultural phenomenon. And so researchers asked the question, well, what's happened? What's changed in the rice that is making people feel this way? So what they found is that in that germination, that it increased the production of GABA. And so they were getting a really good dose of GABA in the form of this Gaba rice. And that's really what led to the development of the PharmaGABA. And so again, there was kind of a built-in marketplace because of this knowledge about Gaba rice. In the U.S., people don't have that built-in knowledge base, but that may explain it, the differences in the two. But the bottom line is that this is a very successful natural product because it's experiential. A few years ago, we had a booth at Expo West, and there was a game that they developed with it was kind of like a football game, but or a hockey game, and the puck was influenced by brain waves, and so competitors would face off to determine who could produce the greatest amount of alpha brain waves. And like I said, PharmaGABA produces a benefit in 5 minutes, so somebody could lose to somebody else. They could take the PharmaGABA, increase their alpha brain waves, and they'd move that puck across that line almost immediately. So it really does work. It's experiential.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating, and it is. I think we see challenges around consumer compliance with taking supplements when they don't feel the difference. They can't experience it right away, and so to see that this is one example of you immediately experience those positive effects. Are there other things that you think will be needed for U.S. consumers to adopt and embrace this ingredient as we've seen in Japan? What will kind of be that tipping point?
Well, I'm all about people taking the right product for the right application. And I think that one of the reasons why this product has not reached its full success is because we still see a lot of synthetic GABA on the marketplace. And I think that's a barrier because people will try that form, they won't get results, and that will disenfranchise them to taking a GABA supplement. But when they take the PharmaGABA, it produces noticeable benefits. This has been observed over and over again, and the testimonials from people are amazing with this compound.
I wanted to kind of on that same note of just what we're seeing in Japan compared to the US. Some of the things that you were saying reminded me a little bit of the collagen market that I followed for a long time, of seeing all of these different great applications, a lot of innovation and different delivery systems that I think can be appealing. Are you seeing some of that same delivery innovation in the US that you're seeing in Japan?
Not yet. I mean, in Japan, they put it in everything. I mean, you can see it. They put it in bread. They put it in candies, mints, gum. They put it in chocolates. They put it in sausage. I mean, they put it in a lot of foods because people are aware of it, and it'll increase the sales. Like they can have a bread that is selling pretty good, but when they put the GABA in there, people are like, "Wow, okay, this I'm going to get this one," and so it leads to consumer choice in that direction. So again, because they're familiar with the benefits, we just got to help people give it a try and achieve the benefits, and I think it'll grow.
Sausage PharmaGABA, you heard it here first. I gotta say that's the first time I've heard that. Interesting though, yes. All the different ways and formats that it appears. What are any other challenges that you've seen with this ingredient in the US market, and then kind of turning that on its head? What are some of the opportunities in the near term in the US market?
Yeah, stress is such a big category. I think, and this is such a great answer for it. I think it's just a matter of companies really getting behind it and really pointing out the differences in this form, this natural form. And I think people are more interested in taking natural products, truly natural products. The synthetic form is derived from an industrial solvent that's banned in many countries. Um, it's not a completely clean product. I just think we got to go with the natural form, the clinically proven form, the most effective form.
So on that note, we do have a question from one of our attendees, and please keep the questions coming. We have a few more minutes to take those, but in regards to the slide that showed PharmaGABA compared to synthetic GABA, the benefits, was that because of increased bioavailability, or how do you explain those improved benefits with the natural form?
Here's my thought. Now, this is just my opinion. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA or GABA, it's a very simple molecule. And the way it works is it binds to a receptor site like a key to a lock. But there must be some sort of physical difference between the synthetic form and the natural form. So the key doesn't quite fit in the same lock. So the bioavailability might be the same, but the actual binding of the molecule to receptor sites, I think, is different because I think the shape is different. There has been some unpublished X-ray crystallography that supports that thought. So it's not totally something I'm making up. There's a logical reason to believe that the shape of the synthetic molecule is a bit different. We forget that. We see the chemical diagrams, and we see the chemical composition, and we think that the shape is always the same, but we're learning more and more. People probably have seen the book about water and looking at the different crystals of water. Well, if these individual molecules of GABA are different, then they're not going to behave the same. And that's my explanation.
Very good explanation. Thank you, Dr. Murray. We also had a couple questions just about dosages. Is there overdosing potential? That one slide you did mention kind of the recommended or the most efficacious dosages, but can you expand on that a little bit, and also recommendations across age groups?
Okay, very good. Yeah, as little as 25 milligrams of PharmaGABA has been shown to improve alpha brain waves. So even a small dose is quite useful. But as we see with these latest studies, that 200 milligrams, that's going to cast the widest net in terms of having people have an experience and seeing benefits. And believe it or not, kids' brains are pretty close to the size of an adult brain. So The dosage is not that much different for kids. I think 100 milligrams for kids under 12, over 12, I think 200 milligrams.
Very good. Thank you. This is
And Jessica, just to tell people out there, don't tell your kids that their brains are as big as yours, because then they'll think they're as smart as you.
That is a good tip. Very important. I have another question, which I think is an interesting one because we're seeing so many changes in the sports nutrition and sports performance space, a much more holistic approach to optimizing performance. Are there any effects on sports performance? Has PharmaGABA been used in this space?
Yeah, I'm laughing because you know, there are so many applications for this compound. I kind of wanted to focus on this new data, but one of the interesting effects of GABA is that it promotes growth hormone secretion, and growth hormone secretion can also be adversely affected by cortisol. So there was a study that was done with PharmaGABA and whey protein, and it led to significant improvements in growth hormone secretion and utilization of the whey protein. So it's a great compound for sports nutrition, both for this effects on growth hormone and, as I said, cortisol is, it leads to muscle loss. It leads to lots of negative effects on our musculoskeletal system. So very, very useful in the sports nutrition category.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's gosh, it's just exciting, as you pointed out, to hear about all the different applications. So thanks for that question. Have a couple, and your response, Dr. Murray. We have a couple more minutes in this time, Dr. Murray. Before we wrap up, any other aspects of this ingredient that you would want to share with our attendees today? Any additional exciting things that are on your radar for the future of PharmaGABA?
Well, I'll just say that when you look at the benefits from parasympathetic activation, they're so amazing. We saw that in that Coca-Cola product that just got launched in Japan, there was a claim for lowering blood pressure. When your parasympathetic nervous system is activated, that's where you get repair and healing. So I think this is going to be a very useful avenue of marketing for this compound, because our immune system functions at best when we're in that parasympathetic state. Our ability to detoxify and protect cells and rejuvenate our mitochondria is enhanced in that state. Then you couple that with all the benefits in improving sleep quality and lowering cortisol levels. This is something that a lot of people in the United States need, and they should give it a try.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Murray. We are just about at time, so I want to remind everyone that this may be our first episode. It's certainly not our last. And we have our next episode coming up on August 31st, where we'll be digging into one of the most exciting and promising ingredients for healthy aging. So please do tune into that. Also want to remind everyone to click on Mitsubishi's logo here in the session and connect with the team. They can provide you with a ton of additional information about PharmaGABA. So exciting to see all of this great work being done. Dr. Murray, thank you again for being here. I'm so excited to be able to launch this series with you and have you coming back for more episodes about some of the most innovative ingredients in nutrition today. So thank you.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. If you are at NVJ Summit, I will see you here. I believe Mitsubishi is here as well. And I look forward to seeing everyone virtually or in person soon. Have a great day.